Hey everyone, this is Nitro. With the weekend just about to come up, I thought I would do another video on the Mercenaries of the Week for Apex Arena. So let's begin talking about them. And we're just going to go over the Mercenaries more or less in order to see whether they are useful or not. So let's start with the Leon from the Ellis City server from Commander Zek. So it's a Strike Master, which is Leon's best class, and taking a look at the talent, it increases the damage by 3% and defense by 15% per tile moved, which means this is a 5-star Leon, not 6 stars, but 5 stars is quite acceptable. In terms of gear, it is all SSRs, except it's a very odd mix of gear. It's a Leon with a Bracer emblem, which I guess immunities to silence and fixed damage can be useful, but the enchant is clocks. You know, I actually don't like a Bracer emblem on Leon personally. No attack increase here. And on the whole, the enchants just don't have that much of an attack increase, right? You're looking at 7% rather than 15% here. 3% attack here, 3% attack here, and then a 6% attack from the accessory. So this is 7, 10, 13, and plus 6, that would be a 19% attack increase in total. Generally speaking, you want at least 25% attack increase. So this, in my opinion, this Leon is severely lacking one-shot potential, which is the main reason you would bring Leon in the first place. With only 19% attack increase, a Last Knight rather than a Sealed Guardian, and a Bracer emblem, I truly cannot recommend this Leon. So, yep. So that's the Leon. Even though it has 6,000 power, it's kind of... it's... I think it's less powerful than it should be. Next then, let's move on to the Joshua. Now, the Joshua surprisingly only has 4858 power, despite it having all SSR equipment. And the reason for this is actually quite simple. If we look at the talent, right, it's increasing crit chance by 13%, and the damage is equal to 1.3 times the hero's attack. This means this Joshua is quite at a low star level, right? 13% in fact should be 4 stars. So that's a huge limiting factor on this Leon, being 4 stars. However, other than that though, it seems quite solid. It does have the 40% attack increase, which means it has the max soldier bonds. And, you know, it has a decent amount of attack increase, right? 9% here, 19%. Sorry, 9% here with plus 19. Given that his base attack is 428, this 19 is pretty much the equivalent of another 5%, which means this is an effective 14% attack increase, right? Plus 3 attack here. King's Crown with 4% attack. And then the Judge's Talisman does have 8% crit. This is probably the weakest part of this Joshua, that there's no plus attack percent in this, just a 8% crit increase. But despite that, you know, this is 14%, 14 plus 4, 18%, 18% plus another, let's say, 2 or 3%, right? So that's a 21% attack increase effectively in total. So even though it is only a 4-star, it's actually surprisingly usable. The main reason, in truth, that it has such low power is because of the relatively low amount of hit point increase on this Joshua. Right? There's only 10% here, and another 7% here. So 17% attack, or sorry, 17% hit point increase. But once again, this Joshua is quite usable. If you're lacking an AoE attacker, you can definitely bring this Joshua along, and and he should perform okay for you. Despite, once again, the seemingly low power of 4858. Right? I should quickly mention, I suppose, that assassins in general seem to have relatively low power. For example, my Zerida, which is quite built up with 15% attack increase here and 7% attack increase there with 10% crit. Even with a similar hit point increase, right? 11% here and then 6% here, so that's again 17% hit point increase. The power is only 5390, so it's not that much higher than this Joshua. And that's considering the fact that my Zerida is currently 5 stars as opposed to a 4-star Joshua right there. So just an interesting point. Assassins in general don't seem to get super high power. Next, Shafaniel. From Shafaniel's magic talent, there's a 13% intelligence increase. So the 13% is... I'm just thinking. It should be yet again a 4-star Shafaniel, because it should be 13, 16, and then 20% increase. So yeah, this should be a 4-star Shafaniel. It does have the double class mastery, since you have a total of 8 skills. And the power is 5314. Big limiting factor would be the Truth Pendant, right? SR rather than SSR. But it has magic enchant, and looking at the intelligence increase, there's barely any. Okay. Only plus 18 int is nowhere near comparable to a plus 15% int increase. So she's this 18 int is effectively, let's say, around 4.5%. Given this can be 15% int, that's terrible. This is a 7% int increase, not 10%. And there's no other int increases that I see. So I don't like this Zerida. Oh, sorry, I don't like this Shafaniel. Hit point increase, similarly, is very limited in the Tiara and Tenyos robe, too. So on the whole, I would say avoid this Shafaniel if you can. I mean, yeah. Despite it having 5314 power. Chloe. And the healing effect increase is 25%. So 25% should be just 5 stars, which pretty normal. You know, very few people have a 6-star Chloe with 30% healing effect increase. And I will say that I think Chloe is quite usable even at 5 stars. Now, this Chloe is one of my guildmates, although fearless. It's kind of ironic because it has one of the best enchants I've seen on a life staff. 15% int increase with plus 15 int. Crystal Ball, 6% int increase. 2% increase here with some hit point increases and so on. So in summary, because it's only SR equipment rather than SSR, I would really just avoid this Chloe. It only does have single class mastery, right? So it only has access to one of her branches, right? The Queen of Liberal branch. So yeah, I would personally say avoid this Chloe because of all SSR gear. Once again, it is usable, don't get me wrong. Chloe is just, she is very vulnerable to AoE attacks. That's how I see it. An AoE team will definitely crush this Chloe, but if you're not facing an AoE team, this Chloe could serve you quite well. Next, we'll move on to Sonya. And this Sonya has a 17% attack and defense increase from the Demon's Blood passive buffs that it can get. 17% should be 5-star. Because I believe at 6 stars, it caps out at 20% attacking increase. So 5-star Sonya, pretty solid. But 45-30 power, and the reason is because it is all SR gear. And once again, the enchant values are mediocre, right? No real hit point, minimal hit point increases. This has plus 10% attack and 6%, and then plus 6 attack value, which is theoretically pretty decent, but given it's written in SR, you really need SSR gear. So that kind of sums it up. I would not use this Sonya at all, despite it seemingly to have double class mastery, right? With 6 skills, especially ninjutsu, route, and assault, and strike. Actually, this might not be double class mastery. It should, let me just go back quickly. It should be just mastery in her side branch for ninjutsu. If I bring up my Sonya quickly to check. Yeah, so it has the ninjutsu mastery and probably Grand Knight and Grand Master. No access to Unicorn Knight or Unicorn Master. Okay, so let's talk about the next hero. Like, if you had to pick, the way I see it is, if you had to pick a cavalry unit to bring, I would just bring this Strike Master Leon because it's 5 stars rather than this Sonya. Even though I don't recommend this Leon due to the lack of attack power, I still think that it's better than this Sonya. Next will be Freya, level 60. Once again, it is SR gear, and that pretty much just sums it up. I wouldn't really use her, although it's pretty well built for SR gear. Okay, defense increasing on the Bloodlands, right? Maximum defense from the armor, and the 6% defense here. Maximum defense again from the helmet, and then this amulet, right, decreases melee damage taken with 7% defense increase. So it's a maximum defense increase in terms of SR gear, as much as you can get. But it's, at the end of the day, it is SR gear. She does do 2 times damage, 2 times hero's defense in damage, which means this Freya should be, I'm just thinking. I'm actually not sure what star level this is. 50%, oh sorry, 50% crit hit chance reduction. That means it's a full 6 stars. So it is a 6-star Sonya, but SR gear is the huge limiting factor. Moving on, Leticia. Surprisingly, this Leticia has full SSR gear with 4780 power. The thing though is Leticia tends to have very low power. Her soldier bonds are not complete. Right? 10, 10, 27, 27, that's not complete. It's nearly complete. I think it's missing like a tiny bit in terms of the attack and magic defense increase, but you have to note it is not complete yet. In terms, it should be a 6-star. Yeah, 4 friendly units buffed, so it's definitely a 6-star. And it has pretty good enchant values in truth, right? 13% here with 4% hit points, 8% attack here. So pretty close to the 25% maximum from these two. You're at 21 out of 25, right? There's another 3% here in terms of attack increase, and the Aeneas' helmet doesn't have any attack increase, but it gives a good amount of hit points in defense. So on the whole, this is a very, very usable Leticia if you plan to bring her for her talent to boost up your party's mobility via talent and sprint skill. Next, Quieres. Quieres with SR gear, that pretty much sums it up. I wouldn't really use her, even though, in terms of from her talent, there's an 80% chance to heal, meaning this is a 5-star Quieres, not a 6-star. And there is a general lack of intelligence increase. Right? There's no percentage here at all on the Sage's staff. Crystal Wall has +6 int. So, and there's only a 4% int on the Green Leaf Code. So I would not recommend this Quieres at all, because her healing would not be great in general. Yeah. Next, Liana. Once again, SR gear. So this, yeah. Intelligence, no percentage increase on the, no percentage increase, and a 1% int increase. So a terrible Liana, pretty much. That pretty much sums it up. Terrible enchants, SR gear. And finally, Grenier at 48-49 power with maximum soldier boost, soldier bonds. It is all SSR gear except for the weapon, which is quite acceptable to use because, well, an SR doesn't dramatically make Grenier better. In terms of the enchant values, there's not that much priority focus on hit points, as you can see here. Just mainly defense. So this is more of a, yeah, I mean, I really can't recommend this Grenier either. Just, there's not very many good enchants at all, even though, despite the gear. It's clearly a relatively PvE focused Grenier, and Dark Cave is one of the newer servers after all, so there's no real surprise that the enchant values are kind of meh. So, in conclusion, this is a relatively dry week in terms of mercenaries. The best one, arguably, is actually this Joshua, because despite its low power, the enchants are actually quite decent for this Joshua. Just a lack of plus attack value percentage increase on the Judge's Talisman, but still, this Joshua is very, very usable as another AoE attacker to bring on your team. And everyone else is kind of mediocre. I would say if you have a better built one, use your own. Even this Leon. So that concludes my video. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you found this information useful. And on that note, Nitro out.